a distant childhood memory, revived in revelations, nature's counsel, the oracle. Grow Farm Productions, in association with Literally CSV Animations and PBS, present Calvin and Hobbes, Nature's Ominous Prophecy. Join us as Nova explores the mysteries and wonders of the adventures of Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes is a comic strip that was written and illustrated by Bill Watterson from 1985 to 1995. Watterson possesses a degree in political science, which he incorporated into his work, and is currently 53 years old. Calvin, who represents the religious philosopher John Calvin, is the strip's main character. He is a rambunctious yet intelligent 6-year-old who participates in antics with his best friend Hobbes. Hobbes, who is an allusion to the philosopher Thomas Hobbes, is a stuffed tiger that appears alive only to Calvin. Underneath the humorous and slapstick-style comedy of the comics, one notices a philosophical message highlighted by the interactions, conversations, and fights between Calvin and Hobbes. Bill Watterson illustrates that how greed and arrogance are inherent to society, causing pride, demonstrating that the only way to rectify pride is to look at nature and creativity to escape the perils of society before pride destroys us. Watterson shows that religion leads to the human flaws of greed and arrogance and demonstrates that this has created an entire society based on and fostering avarice. In 1699, the physicist Blaise Pascal said, "One should believe in God. If God exists, you gain all. If God does not exist, you lose nothing." Calvin reflects Pascal's wager in his actions, yet not for the reasons that Pascal does. Calvin is shown not to be concerned with the meaning behind Christmas, that of love and compassion, and is focused instead on the material aspects of the holiday. Without the prevalence of religion in his household, Calvin would have not fallen to this extent of greed during wintertime. Watterson shows that this greed is cyclical. When Calvin has children of his own, their surroundings will cause them to succumb to greed as well. These actions cause greed and arrogance, which in turn lead to class divisions, leading to superficial personal connections and consequently a fragile society. Class divisions in Calvin and Hobbes are subtle yet present. Watterson uses the Calvin mother, Calvin Hobbes, and Calvin bully relationships to both represent humanity as a whole and fight against the merchandising of Calvin and Hobbes. Watterson once said, "Actually, I wasn't against all merchandising when I started the strip, but each product I considered seemed to violate the spirit of the strip, contradict its message, and take me away from the work that I loved. If my syndicate had let it go at that, the decision would have taken maybe 30 seconds of my life." Watterson uses Calvin's love of making grotesque snowman sculptures to reflect his feelings. Not coincidentally, this strip was written at the height of his merchandising battle with the syndicate. Just as one snowman exploits the other, Watterson writes to express the immorality of the companies who aim to commercialize his work, reducing his comics to merchandise and taking away meaning. Watterson offers a solution to human greed and pride, however. Society's effect on people can be remedied by returning to imagination, which is absent in the industrialized world, our relationships, and our decisions, ultimately leading to peace. Imagination plays a major role in Calvin and Hobbes. Watterson incorporates it into almost every strip. Indeed, one critic said, "Part of the charm of the strip was the fact that Watterson often blurred the distinction between what was imaginary and what was real." The power of imagination to accomplish anything is shown. A 6-year-old boy and a stuffed tiger are able to go to outer space with a wagon. Watterson uses dramatic panoramas juxtaposing insignificance with power to show imagination, as shown here. The second panel shows the power of imagination to resolve Calvin's feeling of insignificance. The duo appear much larger than the moon, signifying that they are of more importance than celestial bodies. Through imagination, they are able to have more power than even the most venerable of supernatural objects connected with the heavens throughout history. Finally, and most importantly, Watterson shows that returning to pure nature is the ultimate way humans can remedy society's self-afflicting problems. Watterson contrasts human faults such as greed and arrogance with nature, emphasizing that nature can instill compassion in humans, and that society needs to reunite with our natural roots. The anthill represents Watterson's ideal society, in which all members contribute to each other, such that each ant must be selfless and compassionate. The ant portrayed does not greedily take the crumb for itself, but rather shares it for the greater good of the colony. Watterson portrays the irony of humanity with the minuscule anonymous depiction of the ant. If the lowly ant is able to be free from greed and arrogance, human society, the most advanced on earth, should be able to as well. Calvin's expression of distant yearning symbolizes that Calvin wants to reflect the ant in its altruism, but human influence of greed ever widens the rift, separating Calvin from the selflessness portrayed through nature. Watterson also uses Hobbes as a way for Calvin to reunite with nature. Juxtaposing abstract colors with trees and streams, Watterson shows that Hobbes can guide Calvin. At the beginning of the strip, Calvin pushes angrily ahead of Hobbes, greedily occupying territory and asserting his dominance. However, at the end, Calvin realizes his mistakes and gives up his pride and greed to appreciate nature. Watterson shows the immense power of nature to remedy greed and pride by the very time span of this panel. Within a few minutes, Hobbes, a representative of nature, alongside nature itself, are able to change Calvin's views on life completely, refocusing his attention from the flaws of man to the wonder of nature, and instilling within him selflessness and humility. Calvin and Hobbes was an integral part of my childhood. While I did not realize the full implications of Watterson's masterpieces as a child, I certainly understood his message. I have strived and continue to strive to apply Watterson's message of the human condition every single day. Thank you for your time. Whatever you do, wherever you go, however old you get, never forget Calvin and Hobbes.